Taylor sent me a text and wanted to meet me in January of 2018. We met, she gave me a hug, which in hindsight, I thought that was rather peculiar for what I was about to be accused of. She said, "I've got a letter I want to read to you." This is just portions of the letter. "Dad, I would like to acknowledge the ways you have helped me throughout my life. I want to thank you for being a large part of my healing. I'm very grateful. More importantly, I want to tell you that I am no longer blind or numb to the sexual abuse and trauma you put me through as a child. Back then, I had insufficient coping mechanisms to endure such suffering and confusion. I do not want any contact with you. You may contact me only when you are ready to admit and apologize for your actions. I will continue to pray for the courage to forgive you. Bella." She slid a copy of the letter over to me and walked out the door. I have not talked to her since January 5th of 18. At this point, I see no future unless she can ultimately come to the revelation I didn't do it. And we moved from there. There was no way that I was going to apologize for something that I didn't do.
What was your first reaction when you heard this allegation?
That accusation pretty well froze me in my seat. I just turned around, went home. My wife was surprised to see me walk in the door, and I just handed her the letter and I walked into the other room.
She says, "You have always helped me with papers, speeches, and professional endeavors," and then drops the bombshell. Have you ever molested your daughter?
No, sir.
Have you ever been sexually inappropriate with your daughter?
No.
Have you ever done anything with your daughter that she could misinterpret, that she could mischaracterize, take out of context, look at in a different way as a revisionist historian and assign a different value to it?
I understand. No.
Where do you think this is coming from then?
When she came back, I think it may be tied to the abuse that she suffered when she was out in LA. I think when she came back, I became aware of the fact that she was seeing a particular therapist. And my sister, who was also a therapist, was aware of who this individual was. Taylor had had some conversations in family meetings and probably talked a little bit about, hey, I'm seeing a therapist, because my sister was one herself. So I think they had some dialogue at some point, unbeknownst to me. And my sister said, "Oh, I know who she is." And I'll use her words. She says she's kind of a quack in the community. She has a tendency to rely on that book for anybody that mentions that they've got an eating disorder. And she says, I wouldn't put any weight in that interpretation.
And is that why she sought treatment, is for the eating disorder?
I couldn't tell you that. You'd have to address that too.
But that's something this individual tends to treat?
Yes.
Okay, now you say in the letter, she said, do not reach out to her for 6 months. Did she say why 6 months versus tomorrow or 3 months or a year or never?
No.
And you also had to share this with your now wife, Marsha.
Yes.
And Larry's wife, Marsha, says that she has watched Taylor grow up since she was a young teen and has concerns, frankly, not about Larry, but about his daughter. Well, Marsha is joining us virtually from their home in Iowa. Marsha, when Larry came home and told you about this, what was your initial reaction? What was your initial thought?
Oh, you can't even describe it. Your heart sinks, you're devastated, and you know it's not true.
And you say that you feel like you have to be really careful around Taylor. You have to watch your words. It's kind of like you have to tiptoe around her. What is it about her that makes you feel like you have to do that?
Many times, what you say is misinterpreted or twisted around. I don't trust her.
Do you have a story or a question for me? Click the link in the description and tell me what in the world is going on.